I'm Danielle from You Are the Oracle, and welcome to our live today with Aisha as we talk about spellcasting and altars and how to incorporate these into your workplace. Aisha, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody who's joining. Hello, and everybody who's coming on. My name is Aisha, and I am the owner of My Sacred Bridge and the author of the My Sacred Bridge Grimoire. So on Substack here, I am writing and speaking. A living book of magic is how I look at it. And so I started out in corporate. I'm sure we're going to get into that, for over 20 years. And now I am doing this full time. I love it. I consider myself a witch. I consider myself an elemental witch. I work very closely with all four elements. I teach magic. I work one-on-one with people. I do tarot. So there's a lot of things that I do, but I love incorporating magic with work because this is how we earn money. This is how we earn our wealth. This is how we earn our abundance. So I love incorporating ancient magic, ancient teachings with what we do in the modern era. So I'm exceedingly excited to have this conversation, and I'm all about the altars. So we're going to get into that. So, oh my God.
You can just see my face because I'm like oozing with excitement. All of these things literally just light up my soul. Yeah. And so when I first initiated this talk, so I'm a nurse leader and I work in a corporate hospital. Mm-hmm. And you were in HR and corporate, yes. Correct? And yes. So even the journey to just like saying I'm a witch is like so intimidating when you work in a corporate like environment. Yes. And so were you able to get there before you transitioned to your new role?
I did, surprisingly enough, and I say surprising because I kept those two things very separate when I was working in corporate, because there is a large stigma around the word witch. Yeah, understandably, from what happened, and the things that still do happen, because it's very misunderstood. But if you really pull back and and look at the history that, women, especially women, cooking in the kitchens and cooking large meals for their families and, and making and using medicine and the plants as medicine, that's witchcraft. That those are all forms of witchcraft that our grandmothers have done, that our ancestors have done. And so when I finally really just towards the end of my corporate career, was in HR for almost 24 years, which is like almost, what is it, a quarter of a century, which is wild.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
But when I was coming to the end of that, because I was doing this on the side as like a side hustle, like as a hobby, and people would ask me, "What are you doing this weekend?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to a law firm, and I'm actually going to be reading tarot for all these lawyers." And people were like, "You're doing what now?" So it became, because I couldn't really hide it. And I have a website, my pictures everywhere. And I was like, all they have to do is just Google my name, which is a little unusual. It's not like a common name, and they can just see me. So I was just like, this is literally the universe saying, it's okay, Aisha. You can come out of the shadows. You can come out of this. You can honor your past lives. You can honor the women who have come before you. And by stepping into that, and towards the end, I started telling people like, yeah, I practice witchcraft. This is what I do. And I got a lot of like, okay.
Side eyes.
A lot of like, that's interesting, or that's cute. But the more and more that people started to realize that I was dead serious about this, and that this is something that I use that is for my mental health. This is something that I use to become a better me. Then they were like, okay, I get it. And so, it's more like, just stepping into that and stepping into that identity. It was not easy. I'm not going to lie. It was not easy, especially coming from very buttoned up, very polished corporate. So
HR, especially.
Yeah, HR. I had to be very careful. I had to be very careful what I said and who I said it to. And, it's sad that I had to do that, but, I totally get it. But yeah, towards the end, I mean, people knew. I think everybody knew by the time I was done. I think everybody knew.
I have taken some baby steps. So I'm Reiki trained 1 and 2. And
nice.
Last year I offered Reiki sessions, 15-minute sessions to employees on like a self-care wellness day. And my boss supported that. And I was so nervous about it, but my time slots for all 3 days were completely full. Yep. And people know I read tarot. And so every once in a while I'll be like, do you think you could just like pull a card for me? And so you can see like the evolution. People know I'm into some things, but it is becoming slightly more mainstream than really
Yes.
it ever has been.
Yes. It's very, if you go on social media, it's very trendy.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that with quotes because, you know, people love to just put the candles up and say, do this, do this, do this. For me, and it's beautiful, and I love that. For me, though, I really took a deep dive into like why, you know, that you're casting magic, why you're doing the things. I'm that kind of person. That's very HR of me. Like, I'm like, I need to know why I'm doing.
Yes.
I can't just cast a spell and just say, oh, I just hope that this worked. No, I need to know the mechanics underneath that. I really do. And so, and I think it's interesting that you said that, you know, people ask you, can you pull a card? Because like a couple people on my team would be like, can you pull a card for me this week? So yeah, it trickles in. And, you know, when you start to really realize the energetics underneath it, you can't really deny the things that come up, especially when you get a card, you're like, oh, yeah, that 100% resonates. Yes. So it trickles into all parts of our lives, no matter what we're doing.
I have been this last year on just a huge journey of energetics because I work in other people's space all the time.
Yeah.
Patients who are receiving healthcare. The nurses on my unit, there's about 75 of them, and they're women. Like, wow. I'm in a lot of energy. We have 6 children and a partner, and constantly like learning how to not overextend myself, not to save anybody, because that's not my role either, just to hold space and also like keep myself somewhat energetically clear, which really prompted this conversation. And how can I take some of these things that I love to do at home, but I'm a baby witch, I'm just brand new, and I'm just starting with some crystal gridding and altars and little spells. And I would love for you to talk to us about how we can incorporate those things in our home, but also at work in a more discreet way to help us manage the energy of ourselves and manage the energy of our workplaces, but not be like completely out in the open.
Totally get it. And I'm so excited about this whole conversation.
I know, me too. So when you said elemental, dig in for everybody exactly what that means to you.
So my belief and my practice is centered around the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. I truly believe that the earth gives us everything that we need. Like, we're here for a reason. We don't get new air. Like, we don't get new water. Like, this is not like, everything is recycled, and water is one of my big things. So let's just talk about water for a second. So if you think about the water that we drink, the water that we use, the water that we bathe with, everything that we do, we don't have like a water filling station that floats by this planet and refurbishes that. Like, this is water molecules that have been used for millions and millions and millions of years. In fact, according to my research, there's a lot of like speculation on exact time frames, but it's said that a lot of the water that we have has been here before the sun was even existed. Wow. That is so insane to me. So that, wow. I mean, the likelihood that we are drinking, bathing with, using in our cooking, whatever, water that has passed through, not trying to be totally gross, a dinosaur, is very highly likely. And which is a wild thought to me. So because of that, when you think of that, because everything is energy, if you look at astrology, you look at anything, we're taking the energy of millions of years of wisdom, magic, and also the other side of that, like you talked about, the stressors, everything like that, that comes with that. Like, and we're putting that into our bodies, we're incorporating that. So long story, kind of summed up, I truly believe that the earth gives us every single thing that we need to succeed, to really tap into those energies, to tap into those other energies. And each one of the elements really does speak to a specific part. So air, it's very much the mind. I'm a visionary and I'm an air person. And so I have these grand ideas. I can see A and Z very, very well. B through Y,
I know the mechanics of it. You lose me in the details a little bit.
Yeah, the details. It's like, I don't really know if that's where I my forte. So, people who have a lot of air in their energy, very much visionary thinkers, things like that. Whereas if you're an earth person, I almost can guarantee you're very good with systems, very good with putting things together, really looking at, each thing and making sure that before you make a move, you really have that, kind of in your psyche. A fire person, really, really just like, you know what, we're going to do it live. We're going to do it now. And then we'll ask questions later. We're going to ask questions later, and then we're just going to do it, and we'll and all that, which I respect. And then we have water, people who really feel things when they go into the water, and when they go into a room, they immediately just can sense like, oh my gosh, the energy feels off, you know, or it feels really good, whatever that is. Like just really, really highly intuitive and really empathic people a lot of the time. So people who have that, real quick, I do have a free quiz in my bio that tells you like, I don't know if you've taken it, but like it tells you like, yes, this is who you are. This is your archetype, you know, for the different elements. And a lot of different like kind of magical stuff that goes along with it. There's a lot of stuff that I put into that. So it's like, see, I'm the water. Yep. You know, very, very intuitive, very low. I can feel the things and everything. So I truly, truly, again, believe that the earth gives us everything that we need to succeed. And if we really tap into that energy, it's amazing the results that we can really feel. It's amazing. Once I really started to understand that I'm this air person and started really working with my breath work and started really understanding that when I get stressed out because I have anxiety, like, you know, and they're just like, okay, we're just going to bring that back. We're going to bring that back because the opposite of air is what? It's earth, and just really grounding. It's amazing to me how much things have moved quicker, better for me once I've really understood the elements that kind of drive me.
So fascinating, because that's the same for me with, oh, Kate, I'm on the live. Sorry, one of my kiddos just popped into the door, and now the dogs are going to be barking.
Oh, it's fine. Dog energy is great. Loyal energy. That's amazing.
I'm a fire, and my partner's water. And you can see how we like this really big play on energy about the feelings. And I just want to do it. I want to do it now. But she's like, how do we feel about this? Like, help me understand. Let's talk about feelings. Like, we don't need to talk about feelings. Let's just move past it. So really getting to know yourself and how you relate to others also is huge.
Yes, it is. And I believe also that when you start to understand the elements and understand how people move and work, that even people like, I used to be a people leader. I wish that I had the frameworks that I do now, that I've developed now when I had my team, because I'm like, oh, that's why I needed this person to make sure that they understood the systems. And that's why I really wanted this person who I wanted to be an empathic recruiter, because I used to run recruiting. So it's like, you know, when you start to really understand yourself and the elements that are really dominant within you, you can start to see it, like you said, with other people. And you can start to see that within people in your team and people who you work with. And you're like, and so you start to understand that maybe I can't, right? Like, you're like, just do it. And you know, your partner's like, can we please just slow down and talk about this? And you're like, why would we need to talk about anything? Because every single person, I call it your unicorn magic, because every single person is so unique. And every single person brings their own magic, their own energy. And when you take 50 steps back and start to look at that, it's fascinating and amazing what comes through with that.
So huge.
Yeah.
So let's start with altars. So when you make an altar, do you incorporate all of the elements, or is it different every time?
It really depends on what I'm casting for, and it depends on where my energy is. When I first started this, I was like, I have to build altars with like all the items. Like, I have a compass where I would make sure I put each one of the items depending on which direction. Like, and it took a really long time to do.
See, I'm like, let's slap it up and we'll see what happens.
Right, exactly. Whereas now, if I'm just like, look, I need to build a quick one, I need something just to kind of anchor my energy for the week, tarot is a really great way to use that. I use my tarot cards a lot because there's already so much history and so much symbolism and so much imagery already built into the cards for you. So like, you know, putting a candle in a dish with some tarot cards around it and bringing in your blessings, really, really, it's really great. So to answer your question, no, I do not always bring in every single element unless I really just am like, you know what, this is an altar I know is going to sit up for a while. I know this is something that really means a lot to me. I want to bring in each one of the elements because I may have a big project or whatever that is. And so I will bring in the elements like candles. You know, obviously I bring in candles, stones. Sometimes I'll just have like a bowl of dirt on my altar for earth. And I collect a lot of feathers. Like birds seem to bring me feathers a lot of the time. So I will collect. I have feathers that I use. Different feathers from different birds because each one of them has a different meaning. I'm also a spirit guide channel, so I work really closely with animal spirits. So I use different things like that. So again, to answer your question, no, I think that your altar can be, as long as you have meaning. In my opinion, as long as you have meaning behind the items that you put on your altar, it can be anything. It can literally be just a plant on your desk. And say, if you really want to work with earth and you're like, I really need to I don't feel grounded. I feel like too much in my head. What am I going to do? Bring like a succulent plant and put it on your desk. And it can be just that. And just every single time you look at that plant and just know that, I am grounded, I am safe, I am at peace, I am balanced. And it's just even little things like that can move your energy in such a profound way.
See, we overcomplicate it a little bit, don't we?
Yeah. We're human. That's what we do.
When I think about altars, especially altars at work. So I have my own office, but people are in and out of it all of the time. And to me, I think the altar would be symbolic for, like you said, like an anchor point to know, like, I can hold myself and still hold other people's emotions, like not to abandon myself. Or if I need a boost of energy because I feel like it's a draining place, or I want to stabilize the energy of my workplace a little bit. I think those are the things that I think about when I think about altars at work. I have made altars at home, especially to my inner child. That's kind of like where I am right now. I have pictures of my little self with altars kind of all around as I'm working on inner child healing. But the ones at work, I think I want them to serve as anchor points for me.
Yes. Yeah, because when you're at work, your intention, you can have the best intention ever, like on Monday morning, come in, and sit down, and then something happens, like in HR, it was insane. Like we would have, somebody was like, oh my gosh, this person just quit, no notice, what do we do? And just the panic that would come with that was incredible. And it was panic that wasn't necessarily directed towards me, but it came at me, if that makes sense. And so a lot of the time, I actually, before I even realized what I was doing very early on in my career, I would have things on my desk that would take my focus away from that, from the panic or from whatever was happening. So I would have like a stone. A stone is one of my favorite things to have on, on my, So I like this particular one, and this particular one, I always believe also that you should have, again, some kind of connection to what you have there so that your mind automatically goes to, oh, that's the intention that I set. That is what I remember. So it is that little kind of like little trigger to say, you know what, it's not as bad because we are anchored. We are good. My energy is fine. Like this particular stone I actually had aged. It's 80,000 years old and comes from the Colorado Rockies.
Wow.
And I got it from a friend of mine who I live in California. She lived in Concord, which is like, I'm like, how did it get? So, having that story and knowing that when I hold it, I'm holding something that's 80,000 years old that I'm holding in the palm of my hand is so incredible to me that alone, just that energy alone will just take me out of anything that I think, because what's happening right now, it's fine. It's going to pass. And, because things still last. Again, that's why I truly believe it comes back to the earth gives us everything that we need. If we just remember that and attach ourselves and attach our energy to something like that, it's amazing how quickly you can come out of like a panic mode, ground yourself, and be okay.
Mm-hmm. I have a deep love for crystals, and basically all of them. I had a life path reading done several years ago, and whether this will come true or not, but she said that part of my life path is to work with crystals, and I completely agree with that. They're just something I'm so drawn to. I have them sprinkled everywhere, and I do believe that each one has its own unique consciousness. Yes. Do you believe that too?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I work a lot with visualization, and I walk people through guided visualizations. And one of the things that people see a lot in those is like different crystals, especially as we ground to the earth. And I tell people to go past, underground rivers or whatever, and go past crystal. And people are like, oh my gosh, I saw a rose quartz, or I saw the, carnelian, or whatever that is. And it's amazing to me how many people just are like, I didn't even realize that I had such a connection to this particular stone, this particular crystal, or whatever that is, until you really kind of just take a step back, because each one of them does have its own. Again, the earth is alive. If you really just think about it, like, it's amazing what can grow from the earth. Everything, this is all energy. So yes, everything that comes from the earth has part of that energy and has its own story and has its own history. I 100% believe that.
There is so much magic in nature, and it's easy to be distracted, to not notice. But every single time I pay attention, I am amazed of the things that I see, the signs that I see, how the earth talks to me, how the earth holds me. And that's why a lot of people say, get out in nature. If you're like not doing well, get out in nature and let Mother Gaia hold you, because there is real magic to that.
There really, really is. And I'm a big proponent. That's one of the things I put on my notes, like every once in a while. I'm like, if you're feeling off or whatever, just get your bare feet on the ground. It's my daughter. She has a grounding practice that she has done now for over 2 years, where she was just feeling a couple of years ago, she was just feeling very much in her head. And now she has this grounding practice that she doesn't even start her day until she has done the practice. She goes outside. We all know, like, let her go, let her do it. And she will just be outside and just feet on the ground, and she will come back in, and then she's just ready to go. And it works for her. That. Yeah, every single time. And she's been doing it now for over 2 years, and it's been the same thing. And it's so routine now that she's like, yeah, no. Even if we ask her a question, she's like, I haven't grounded yet. I will come right back to you. And we're like, bet. Like, absolutely.
No, it's like for coffee. When people say, don't talk to me before coffee, she said, don't talk to me before I ground.
Yep. And she does it every single, like, without fail. And it's amazing. She's very consistent like that. And I've noticed that a lot of magical practice do take some form of consistency. I am not the most consistent person. I'll be very, very honest.
I'm not either. I am like a flight of ideas, and sometimes like to say, like, jack of all, master of none, because my attention and my desires are just like so vast. I love so many different things, and I want to learn and learn and learn so many different things that sometimes that consistency is hard for me, because my attention is off to like something different at that point. But there is something huge to say about commitment and discipline are words that have come to me in meditations almost daily for the last 2 months, like spirit's trying to tell me that I'll have to strengthen those areas of myself in order to get to where I want to go. But because I love just to go wherever the wind blows me.
I get it. And I'm very much the same way. So sometimes I watch my daughter and I'm like, man, like I'll have my practices, but there's not been one that I've consistently done every single day. For her to do that for over 2 years is quite the achievement to me, and quite incredible. And I love that she has done that for herself, and that it has 100% worked. Yeah. So, I believe that everybody has their own energy and their own way of doing things. So is it bad that I'm not consistent or you're not consistent? Probably not. But, and just, kind of forgiving ourselves for
some self-compassion, self-love.
Because
for the way we are. Worst. Perfect the way we are.
I'm the worst. I'm like, man, I could have just been doing this for a week, and oh my gosh, I'm the worst at that. So I get it.
So talk to me a little bit about the intention behind an altar, because I feel like that is sometimes important, and more important than what you use for it is the intention behind it. But do you use any certain ritual or way when you set it up?
So before I even set up altars, and I always kind of know what it is, obviously, that I am calling forth, because I believe that altars can be one of our greatest sources of power, because it is something that it's there. It's something that you can leave up. Like, I have altars that I'll leave up for like a month before I do cleanse them, and we can talk about that, and things like that. But I do have, that I'll just leave up. I have 2 of them in my bedroom. I have 5 of them throughout my house right now. 2 of them are in my bedroom. One of them is my wealth corner of my room, and the other one is in my love corner of my room, so that, bringing in self-love, things like that. So I always have something up. What I love about them is because the intention for me is, what is it that I am bringing in? So I do pay attention to the direction where it is placed. Like, the one in my kitchen is for my entire house. It is for, protection and love, for my entire household. That's because the kitchen, I believe, is the heart of the home. That's where all the elements can be brought together, right? Fire, earth, air, fire, and water. And so before I make them, I always make sure that I 100% know what it is and what it is that I'm really desiring. So what I mean by desire is like, oh, I want like, $10,000. That's a want. Where a desire is, I want to, really have just health, happiness, and love for my entire family, where that is more of a desire and more of an intention that I would set up an altar for, if that makes sense. Now, the items that I place on them, again, I really like to make sure that the items that I place do have meaning. Like for instance, I brought props.
I love it.
One of the dishes that I use is this one. This is made from ash from Mount St. Helens, which was a volcano that erupted here in the 1980s in Washington State here in the United States. And this is one of my prized possessions because of what it is made of. Ash is one of a huge witchcraft, item because it is something that has been transformed by fire. Right? When you think of volcano energy, it's explosive, it's scary, it destroys everything in its path. However, once everything has died down and once everything has, calmed down, it reveals the most fertile soil on the planet. So for me, that place, whatever I place in this dish, like this dish alone has been just an altar for me at some points, because I'm just like, I need to transform this thought. I work a lot with, mindset alchemy. And so I need to transform this thought. So I'm just like, I'll put like some herbs or whatever in this dish. And I'm like, whatever, I need to just transform this thought because it's bothering me and I'm just not able to get past it. And every single time I walk by that altar, every single time I walk by the dish, every single time I walk by the herbs that are in that, my mind automatically is like, yep, that is what it is. So what it does is like these little, you've probably heard of neuroplasticity. It moves your brain a little bit further. It may not be like this huge, like, aha, but it just a little bit of a tick so that you can move in the energy of the direction of your desire and that intention. And that's why I love altars so much, because a spell, like you light the candle, the spell goes out, now what? Whereas an altar, it's there. It's always, you can leave it up for as long as you want. You can cleanse it. You can change things. You can pick things up on it and set it back down. It's always there, and it's always there for your energy to come back to. And that's what I love so much about altars. It's almost like this container of your power, if you will, because they're just that amazing. They're that amazing. And that's what I love, love, love about setting up altars. So it doesn't matter what exactly what you put on it. I believe as long as it has intention to you. That's where your power is. That's where your power lies.
So it's more of a practice than
it is
just like an act of setting it up.
Yes. Just even choosing for one of the, I love doing sachet magic, like something that you can carry with you. And we can talk about that in a little bit. And I love just filling them with little trinkets, like little just fake, obviously it's not real gold, but little fake pieces of gold, just to remind myself, this is what I have done. And this is what I'm changing that thought into gold, whatever that is. So as long as the intention of what you're choosing, and it could be a lot of fun. Like if you want to set up one, like if you're like, I really need to get through this meeting that's coming up in a week and I'm nervous as hell about it. And you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, how am I even going to get past this? You set up an altar for yourself of, let's think like rosemary is really great for focus for your mind and keeping your mind focused and keeping your mind good. And cinnamon to attracting good energy. And you surround, like you put that in a little bowl and then you surround it with salt for protection. There you go. Really, really easy. And you don't have to use these huge things, but that intention, because of what those herbs mean, because of what energy you put into it, that right there is an altar.
So your intention sends the signal out.
Yes.
To the universe that this is what you want transformed or what you want supported. And then the energy is held there. And then every time you see it or interact with your altar, then you're also rewiring your brain to think towards where you want to go or what you want.
100%.
So fascinating. I think that this is such an underused practice.
Yes.
Because I also have been thinking just about romanticizing my life a little bit. And I think that has been pretty popular on social media, like bringing some whimsy back into your life and just having something that's yours, that you put dedication and time and thought and intention to, that you can still see and still work with, I think seems very powerful.
It is. And it's also, and I love what the word that you used was yours. I think a lot of the time, like what happens on social media a lot, and I'm not knocking it because I think it all is beautiful and I think it all has a place. It's saying this is what you're supposed to use and use this, this, and this, and this. Magic is extremely personal. Because like I said, like with even just looking at the elements, the 4 different elements, like we're not all built the same. We don't learn the same. A lot of the time we don't talk the same. We don't have the same upbringings, whatever that is. We are very different and individual people. And that's the same with magic. The magic is yours. And so what works for me may not work for you. So when I talk about altars and I talk about the different items, it's almost like, take the idea, take what we say this a lot in the spiritual realm, like take what resonates and leave the rest. Because it is very, very true. When I work with rosemary, I know that rosemary for me is the mind. Where I have a friend who works with rosemary, she uses it for protection. So we have the same plant, the same thing, but different intentions around it when we use it and how we use it in our different spells. So again, it's very, very personal. And that is why I think that learning about witchcraft and learning about the different herbs and honoring that and honoring the stories and the history and the lore is exceedingly important. And then you can make it your own. And that is one of the things that I think is the most fun as well, is because you can take this and be like, wow, the cinnamon that I have, every single day in my cinnamon roll or whatever like that can be used to attract. And I can turn that into an intention. I can turn that into a ritual. I can use, a cinnamon stick and stir that 3 times in my coffee, clockwise, and bring that intention in. I can attract. Or if I stir it counterclockwise, then I can release. So it's like all of these different things can happen and they can all be true, but they can all be true for different people. I hope that makes sense. The way I explain that. Yeah.
I decided last year that I had spent a large portion of my life looking outside of myself for answers, which is why my platform is called You Are the Oracle, because I have come to know that I am my own magic. And while we need community and we need people, ultimately I have everything I need inside of myself to heal and create. And so I just decided, the internet doesn't have to tell me what signs mean. Like, I can decide whatever I want. So bluebirds mean money and wealth is coming to me. Cardinals mean my family is here. If I find a feather, my angels are with me. Numbers mean certain things to me. And I have now my RAS and my brain are running to see those things when I need that support. Yes. And it has helped me develop my intuition as well. And I haven't thought about an altar practice as an intuition developer, but as I hear you talk, that is almost exactly what it is. You tune in to yourself and what you want and are able to create this magic. Yeah.
It's again, when you take a step back, sometimes it does require that, taking a step back and just saying, people have probably already been setting up altars and didn't even know it. When you have a shelf and you've got all the pictures and you have certain items that mean something, that's an altar. Guys. Or when you are making chicken soup or whatever that is, or soup for somebody who is ill, and that is a form of magic, because you're putting that, I hope this person feels better by me making this soup and everything. That is a form of magic. And so I think that we get very stuck as people on these certain words, well, I'm not, a witch and I'm not doing this. Well, you kind of already are.
Even if you don't get the title.
The recipe that's been passed down for generations, that's a form of magic, because it is, a form of whatever intention was put on from the first person who came up with that recipe, or whatever that is, it's been passed down to you. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful piece of magic that I think that we don't all the time think about. And so that's why I get so excited about talking about this, because I truly believe that every single person has an abundance of magic that you haven't even tapped into, just within. And whether or not you're into it or not, I just believe that it's there, and it's there when you're ready for it. It's there when you need it, and it's there if you call on it or not. And that is one of the most fascinating things I think about human beings that I centered around my work, is that, again, it's just so personal. And when I have those aha moments with my clients, when they're just like, oh, I didn't even consider that what I was doing was, a form of magic or a form of, spell crafting. And it's like, yeah, it was.
It was. And you did it, and you can do it again.
Exactly.
Talk to me a little bit about the satchel, you said, because I feel like if you are going to do, did you say satchel?
A sachet.
Sachet magic. like if you want something discreet, that seems like a perfect thing to do. And I have never done that before.
So this is, people have called them charm bags. People call them there's all kinds of books on this. And so I love it because, again, it is discreet and it's something that I can hold in the palm of my hand, or it's something I can put in my pocket and just carry around with me and nobody would even know. This particular one I made for balancing my mind. I was feeling, again, I'm very air, so I have a lot of 50,000 thoughts a day. And this one has specifically lavender in it, because lavender is, for me, it's very calming. Just the scent of it is just amazing. So I put 3 scoops and I said, with each scoop, spirit of lavender, help my brain to remain calm, help me to remain calm as I move through. And just that's the intention that I put into it as I filled it. And then as I tied the knots to tie it closed, I also did, real quick, not magic real quick, not one. And so it is done, not two. So it be true, not three. And so mote it be. So it almost is like a wish out to the universe that whenever I pick this up, whenever I smell the lavender within it, whenever I do that for myself, that intention, that wish, that magic comes back. And it does really work. It immediately calms me down because we are the source of our own power. It's just a lot of the time it gets very scattered. That is a fact, that we have 60,000 thoughts a day, which is wild. And how are we supposed to follow the threads for each one of those and know exactly what we're doing and, at any given moment? So I believe that magic really acts like that assist, if you will. And so it does help you calm down. It helps you do whatever it is that you're bringing in. I love using color association. This one is gray for balance. I brought a couple more with me just because. And this one that does not fill, this one is gold. I've done this for a lot of money spells, for success, things like that. Also for sun magic, when I want to, do honor the sun. And this one I use for grounding. So I, depending on the color, I'm very big on associations with color, very big on associations with different kinds of herbs, and very big on, the words that I say. I always make sure that the words that I do are kind, and especially kind to myself, because a lot of the time our worst critics can be ourselves, towards ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so when you're casting magic, I always say, just be, as kind as possible to yourself, even if you're not necessarily feeling it, because your brain doesn't know the difference between, what you're trying to bring in versus what is happening now. So, giving it that boost, that's what I love about magic. And you'll see a lot of people saying, you don't need things, you don't need physical things. They're absolutely right. However, my brain, I need something physical to hold. I need something physical to do, because my brain will be like, yeah, it's fine. Squirrel.
I know. I need an anchor point.
So that's why I love casting physical magic, because it gives us that anchor for us to go back to as many times as you need. Writing, we're all here on Substack. Writing is amazing, and about going back and reading that intention as many times as you need. Like 100%, that writing is our oldest form of magic. It's what we used to do, like the cave paintings, for ancient beings. Like all of this is not new. It's just how you use it and how you use it for you.
All of this brings me back to also what you said about your daughter. And I think doing these things is a form of grounding for me, because it brings me into my body, and I am present with myself, living life with intention. And to me, that is very grounding.
Yeah.
It just is really empowering.
It is. And one of the things that I also love is, because the word witch has been pretty much, associated with women, and not to knock anybody out, because, of course there are a lot of men. I know a lot of men who practice magic and, who consider themselves warlocks. I know a lot of men, but for me, especially coming as a multiracial person, this has really been a way for me to connect back with my ancestors, from the people who came before me, and being able to study. I have a Native American, my grandmother was a Native American. And so being able to know that, my gosh, this has been going on for eons, worshiping the earth, honoring the earth and honoring the animals, honoring the plants. And it's just so amazing to me how magic just can bring you back to those points and honor those who've come before us. And that is one of the reasons that I almost got really emotional by saying that.
Oh, it is, yes.
Because it's that important to me, in my opinion. It's just that important. And you're right. It is a form of grounding. When I can pick this up and immediately inhale the scent of lavender, what I see, my vision immediately takes me to, it's like a meadow, but just lavender is just everywhere. And I can imagine myself laying down in that meadow and just being at peace, no matter what is going on in my life. And that is why I'm just so in love with visualization and all these different ways, because our bodies remember, our subconscious remembers, all the pieces of who we were. Our DNA remembers. Our DNA was already put in place, long before we were even born, in the womb, all these different places, all these different things, are little building blocks of who we are. And for me, magic is a way of remembering that. It's a way of bringing us back to those points and bringing us back to, your inner child, like you said. And, being able to come back to those points of play or those parts of, who we were before and who we were in our past lives, because I'm a huge proponent of past lives. I love doing past life readings for people because I'm like, no, this is your birthright. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And it's amazing to me that people are like, yeah, I've thought that, but I didn't really want to say that because I would feel like I was going to be weird. I get it. But at the same time, when you can find that community, like we're talking now, you can find a community of people who are just like, yeah, no, there's something more than, just being humans on this planet for just this life. No, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. And the energy keeps recycling. Like I said, the earth gives us everything that we need.
My wheels are turning because I told you how I've established like my own kind of tokens in this life, my own meanings and my own signs. And there is no reason why I then can't do that with these things. Yes. So through this intentional practice of developing these altars and having little sachets and making my own meanings for my own life, I then create my own magic. And that's a little bit about some of that book of light you have written about. Will you just touch on that briefly? I don't remember what you called it. It starts with a G.
The grimoire?
Yes.
My grimoire, yes. So I started this because actually I started on Substack because IG broke up with me. And I took my account down with nothing. I had no idea what happened. I was like, wow, that was kind of mean.
Rude.
And, thousands of people, followers, I was just like, wow, it was just gone. And I had been thinking about Substack for a long time, but I just had never really pulled the trigger. And I was just like, well, IG broke up with me, so now is a good time to go on this. What do I want to create? And I knew I wanted to talk about magic, but I didn't quite know how I was going to do that. And so I was like, what is it that I've always thought about? And I was like, I always had this idea, this wild idea of writing a book, but I was like, that is just way too much for me to do. And Substack gave me the platform to consider this, my publication, as a book, as a living book of magic. And so through the written words, because I write posts, and also through speaking, because I love speaking. I love to talk, if you can't notice. And so through those two things, I'm able to create this living book of magic where I'm talking about my magical experiences. The notes is a great place for me to say, yeah, this is what's going on with me. How's it going on with y'all? And then through the post, being able to just share a little bit and again say, again, take what resonates and what doesn't. So for me, a grimoire it can also be called like a book of shadows. That's a very Wiccan way of saying that. People do call it like a spell book or a book of magic. For me, grimoire really kind of encompasses all of that. It's almost like this very old word that I love that means just like, come in and just experience a little bit of magic with me, even if it's just for a moment, even if it's just for, just for a few moments, whatever that is. So that is why my publication is named the My Sacred Bridge Grimoire. And I named my company My Sacred Bridge because I love bridges. I think bridges are beautiful. I think they're amazing. I live in the Bay Area, so I actually have a view of the Golden Gate Bridge. If we take a walk up my hill. And I love the idea of what they represent, which is spanning, a space that could otherwise be daunting or very difficult to cross. Mm-hmm. So for a lot of people, myself included, when I started this work of where you are versus where you want to be, who you desire. So building that bridge of magic, building that bridge of, intention, and building that bridge of your identity was the idea behind for me, that was the reason that I called my business My Sacred Bridge, because you're building a bridge between who you are and who you are desire to be.
Yeah, you're also building identity and just proof, like to look back and be like, this was my intention and this is what I did to support my intention, using myself and the earth and magic and source. And here's my outcome. And how cool is that? Because we so frequently forget all the good things that happen to us and all the magic that happens in our lives unless we really like record it somewhere.
Yeah. And I love Substack for that reason. One of the things that I do a lot of the time is I'll just scroll back through a lot of all my notes. And I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. Or like you just said, or that did happen, or I did talk about this. That's amazing. And I did get a lot of response. I love having a lot of, I'm still small enough right now, thank goodness, that I can respond to everybody. So I love doing that. So, anybody who comments, I always want to comment back, because for me, Substack gives the platform so you can take just a minute to learn something, to do whatever. And my little corner of that is, again, it's just teaching magic and just giving everybody just a little bit of magic and spell crafting and something to do, and hopefully give, spark a little bit of an idea. Like, even this conversation, just spark a little bit of idea. Are you supposed to follow it exactly like I say? No, I will never, ever say that. Trust me, being in HR, I get it, that everybody is so individual. Being in HR really, really helps me understand the individuality of every single person that I come into contact with. And so I just like to just give a little bit, because I always like to research. So everything that I put out is research. Everything that I put out is, I want to make sure that it is true and factual and correct. And I love every single thing about it. I love every single thing about my publication and everybody who joins me there.
I love it.
Thank you.
Briefly on spellcasting a little bit. And I can see the ties now that we've had this conversation, the ties through all of these, honestly, just points of intention. Mm-hmm. But how someone could use some like spell casting on the down low at work to support themselves or support the environment, and what that might look like, especially when you can't use candles.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You want, you don't want to be the people like, what are you doing? So again, stones is a really good one. I have a very small stone that I can put into my pocket and just carry around with me. Sachet is a really good one to carry around with you. And it doesn't even have to be like a little bag with strings. You can just get like a piece of cloth and tie it together, however you want to do it. It doesn't have to be this elaborate thing. For work, one of the best things that I talked about a little bit is you can even put an intention on your mug that you use for your coffee, or that you constantly use for your tea before you start your work for the day, right? You usually have a mug sitting there with your coffee or whatever that is. You can put your intention, like if you're like, I really need to light this on fire this week. I know that I have a lot of action that I need to. If you have a red mug, great. Because red is really associated with that action. It's very sun energy. It's very, passion, just get that going. So putting an intention onto that red mug saying, every single time I take a sip out of this, I know that I know that I'm taking one more step towards my goal. Even something that simple can be an intention, can be your little spell for the day or for the week or whatever that is. And of course, here on Substack, one of the biggest things that you can do is write. And you just take a little journal with you, or even put on a Post-it. I have a friend who has Post-its all around her. And just like with little affirmations, or just even just one word, which is just like movement or whatever that is that she's trying to bring in. And every single time that she looks at it, her brain just goes, yep, that's what I am doing. That's what we're moving towards. So even just the act of writing it down as you're doing it is a form of magic. One of the things I also do with my journals is I use my tarot cards as bookmarks, so that every single time I open the book, I remember this is what it is. Like, this is the star. This one is the Ace of Pentacles. Like, if I'm doing a money spell, I need to bring in money and I'm writing things down, I have so many different decks. So it's like, I'll just take one of my favorite decks and I'll just use one of the tarot cards that really is associated with what I'm bringing in. I'll use it as a bookmark. And again, every time I open it, I'm like, oh, yep, that's what I'm bringing in. Because it is what spell casting really is. It's an anchor point for your brain. Mm-hmm. Our brains are magnificent. And they are amazing. And they also can bring some hurt to yourself and things like that. I have seen all of it. I've experienced all of it. And so magic, again, for me, brings just that little bit more joy. It just sparks that little bit of joy. And then, yeah, I did that. I put that little intention in. And then whenever I have it, whenever you see it, you're just able to come back to that for yourself. So it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing. Again, if you want to just like, I need grounding in my life, and oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? On your coffee break, go outside, stand on the grass if you can. If you don't have that, you can just imagine your, roots from your feet going straight into the earth from where you're sitting at your desk. Like, I need to just ground for a minute. Yep. Sit for a minute and say, I'm one with the earth, and just imagine roots coming from the bottoms of your feet into the earth. And just, that can be a very quick, easy way to ground and just be one with the earth. So there's several things. And again, just bringing a plant and just, like, you find a plant that you love, and if you have an office that doesn't mind having living things in your office, then just having a plant on your desk, or having just a stone sitting on your desk. It doesn't have to be this elaborate thing where you're like, guess what? I'm practicing witchcraft. And everybody's like, you're doing what now?
Come on in.
It can be as small or as large as you want it.
Thinking about using the background on your computer screen and your phone to be an amazing little anchor for a digital altar, or some just to bring you back. And I haven't thought about that before, but that would be a really easy way, something that you see all the time, just to bring you back to what you're doing.
I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can show you. So my phone has balance, so it has the night and the day.
Oh, I see that.
So I use balance because I balance is a really big thing for me, the balancing the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. And I work a lot with sun and moon energy, because to me that is the ultimate form of a relationship of balance. And so I work a lot with sun and moon, and so I brought that into my phone. So it's a really good thing that you said that, and I have that every day. That's just my background, and every single time I open my phone, I'm balanced. All is well.
I also, the last year, have just created this like little personal mantra for myself, as like a pattern interrupt. And so if I feel my brain spinning or negative thoughts, I just say, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm worthy, I'm wise. And I say it over and over and over again until those thoughts go away. And that has been really helpful to me. And I guess that's a form of a spell, is it not?
It is 100%. It is. And I love that you say that when you find yourself spinning, because I do a similar thing, because my brain scrolls off all the time. And I look at it as like interrupting. I actually have a spell that I created. It's on one of my other lives, where I created a disruptor spell. And I actually tell myself, like, hang on a second, like, I'm disrupting this thought process right now, and I'm bringing it back to my intention. And I literally will tell myself that, like, hang on a minute, I'm disrupting this. We're bringing myself back, because that is a form of magic. That is a form of spell casting, because it is, again, setting your, like, that intention that you set. Your brain remembers that. Your subconscious remembers that. So having a point of contention, having that trigger point, having that disruptor will bring you back, even if it's just for a second. Because when you think of all those different kinds of seconds, when you have 30, 60, 90 seconds, it builds up in terms of like, it builds over time. A lot of the time I think that, people think if they cast a spell and it didn't work, it didn't work. Magic doesn't work. That's not necessarily true. Like, what actions were you doing? Like you just said, when the thoughts come in, are you believing those thoughts? Like, this isn't going to work. I cast a spell, but it isn't going to work. Then it might not. It might not work the way that you wanted it to. So what are you willing to do? What actions are you willing to do to keep that spell alive? And to, when you have the bad thoughts and everything like that, because we're human, it just happens. I'm not going to say like, this will totally take away all your anxiety. No, if anybody finds that spell, let me know.
Patent it.
Yeah, because wow. But, because fear and anxiety is going to always be there. They just can't drive the bus. So what do you need in order for it, to not have those thoughts, to not have that? And again, it's that little anchor point, that the thought process, like you said, the mantra that you say to yourself, the thing that you pick up, the thing that you have in your pocket that you just hold for a second, just those few little seconds can do amazing work in terms of moving you to the next step.
Magic takes aligned action.
Yeah. 100%.
Aisha, this was just like the best conversation. This was so fun. I could talk to you forever. I hope that everyone listening and who listens later takes away that you can create your own magic anywhere, anytime, with whatever is meaningful to you, with whatever intention you give it.
Yes.
And you are your own magic, your best magic. Yes. And I think the thing I really learned from you is how much the earth is here to support us. And I haven't thought about that too deeply for a long time. And so I'm going to take that as a takeaway, just about how
Awesome.
supported and loved we are, and that we got dropped on this. I mean, we chose to come to this,
Yes, we did.
reality, but we were given the tools that we need to be successful while we are here. So use them.
Yes, 100%. And I love that so much, because I agree with you. The earth she gives us everything that we need to move towards our dreams, to move towards our desires, to move towards our goals. She gives us everything that we need. We just need to take a step back sometimes and just recognize that. So I love that was something that you took away from this. I love that.
Yeah. What a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'll talk.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Thank you very much, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day and rest of your week.
Bye-bye.